Hi everyone, welcome to Lucid Means program brought to you by Ekam IAS. Our today's topic is police reforms. So let's see. The way police forces work in India needs a lot of reforms. Police need more autonomy, professionalism, fixed tenure and so on. Today we look at the history of the police force, the reforms so far and the Supreme Court directives. The primary role of the police force is to uphold and enforce laws, investigate crimes, and ensure security for people in the country. And under the Constitution, police is a state subject. There has been almost 30 years of debate on policing and reforms in India. Even after a spate of terrorist attacks on our major cities, unfolding of a series of mega scams, and serious internal threat of Maoists, the political class is less willing to loosen its grip on the police and let it serve the people. The efforts to beef up the security apparatus, strengthen the intelligence gathering ability, and bring about coherence and coordination between different police and security agencies, then modernizing the police force and enabling our cities with infrastructure to deter terrorist attacks, and most importantly, making police people friendly. All these necessities have been met with a careless attitude of political authorities and are mired in red tapeism. And the police in India, which is under the control of ruling parties, are blind to corruption at various levels and is itself a major partner in the crime at many times. So now let's see the historical background of this police reforms in India. It's in 1861, the British government introduced an Indian Councils Act. The act created foundation of a modern and professionalized police bureaucracy in India. It introduced a new cadre of police called Superior Police Services, which was later known as Indian Imperial Police. The highest rank in the service was Inspector General for each province. And in 1902-1903 period, a police commission was established for the police reforms under Sir Andrew Fraser and Lord Curzon. It recommended for the appointment of Indians at officer level in the police and also recommended that Indians could rise only to the ranks of inspectors of police. However, they were not part of Indian Imperial Police. And from 1920 onwards, the Indian Imperial Police was open to Indians and the entrance examination for the service was conducted both in India as well as in England. Its members ruled more than 300 million people in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Burma, that is the new Myanmar, which were the then British territories. And in 1948, a year after India's independence from Britain, the Imperial Police Service was replaced by the Indian Police Service. Note the point, it's just after 1 year of our independence, this Imperial Police Service was replaced with Indian Police Service, which had been constituted as a part of All India Services by the Constitution. So this is how the history goes. Now we will see the recent cases which demand police reform in India. That is like the DGP appointment and removal case related to TP Senkumar and SP Vaid. That is TP Senkumar, a DGP from Kerala, was transferred by the Left Democratic Front government and Loknath Behra had replaced him as the new DGP. And Mr. Senkumar had argued that the case against him reeked of arbitrariness and was a result of his unfair and efficient probe in the case of political murders in the state, wherein some leaders of the present government were found to be accused. And in a major verdict, the Supreme Court ordered the Kerala government to restore the services of ousted DGP TP Senkumar, holding that his removal was arbitrary and not as per the established law. The thing is that it's rare for the apex court to interfere in such appointments, and the ruling has led to a debate in judicial overreach. And another case is that on September 6, the new governor administration in Jammu and Kashmir removed Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, SP Vaid, and Dilbag Singh was asked to hold the charge of the post of DGP till regular arrangement is made. The government didn't give any reason for the sudden removal of the police chief who had joined the post in December in 2016. And on September 7th, the governor administration through its chief secretary approached the Supreme Court seeking modification of the court's order that had laid down comprehensive guidelines regarding the appointment and removal of Director General of Police by state governments. An Uttar Pradesh constable was arrested and booked for murder after he shot and killed an Apple executive from close range. The state government has also ordered a probe into the incident. So all these are recent cases. Now we can see, why do we need police reforms? We must understand that the stakes are very high. Reforms in the police are directly linked with the economic progress and political stability in the country. No one would like to invest in a state or country where law and order is fragile. Our economic progress today rests on the foundations of the sand. We have seen what has happened in Haryana in 2016 when the property worth more than 20,000 crore was devastated by agitators demanding reservation. And on the political plane, the increasing number of persons of questionable background entering the legislature and parliament is a dangerous trend, which may one lead to the death of democracy in the country. Also, the security of the society and the welfare of the people is dependent on the efficiency of the police. And it's needed to eliminate the political interference, which led to the loss of autonomy of police. And the police of today are victims of politicization as well as criminalization. The confidence of the people in the institution of police can be increased by making police more people-friendly. To prevent the high-handedness of the police in the form of extrajudicial killings, and also increase the sophistication and technology used in crime, because newer types of crime need higher expertise to solve. The global average ratio of police to population is 270 to 1 lakh, where in India it's 120 to 1 lakh. With far less police, ill-trained, ill-equipped, and most of them are posted to protect the politicians, people of India are least secure and in a way most vulnerable in the world. Coordination among various state police and better intelligence and actions are needed. Since 1902, little has changed. The Police Act of 1861 still guides and governs our political system. The Police Act of 1861 still guides and governs our police system. The colonial mindset of the police, the distrust that the people had for the police in British India had continued to date. So far we have seen either bad reforms or no reforms in making the police relevant to highly insecure India that is prone to various threats from both inside and outside its geopolitical borders. So to tackle this, the various committees formed were A.H.L. Fraser Committee, that is A.H.L. Fraser, the chairman of the commission appointed by the British in 1902 said, the police force is far from efficient, it's defective in training and organizing, it is inadequate supervised, it is generally regarded as corrupt, oppressive and utterly failed to secure the confidence and cordial cooperation of the people. So this was the statement given by the commission chairman, and also it recommended the appointment of Indians at officer level in the police. Since 1902, little has changed. The functions of the police during the British time are different from the functions that are to be performed after independence. And after independence, India had adopted the most inclusive and comprehensive constitution to ensure the welfare of the citizens. But the institution of police, which is responsible for implementing the law and order, was not overhauled. Another one is the National Police Committee of 1978. This was the first commission at the national level after independence. It had wide terms of reference covering the police organization, that is its role, functionality, accountability, relation with the public, etc. The committee gave a comprehensive report and recommended to bring an autonomous body of organization which could be accountable to people. However, the major recommendations of this committee were not accepted by the government. And comes the Ribeiro Committee of 1998-1999 period. In 1996, two former senior police officers filed a PIL, that is a public interest litigation, in the Supreme Court, asking for the court to direct governments to implement the recommendations of the National Police Commission. The Supreme Court directed the governments to set up a committee to review the Commission's recommendations. And thus, Ribeiro Committee was formed, and the committee under the leadership of J.F. Ribeiro, who was a former chief of police, sat over 1998 and 1999 and produced two reports. And then comes this Padmanabhaiah Committee of 2000. That is, in 2000, the government set up a third committee on police reform. This time, under the stewardship of the former Union Home Secretary K. Padmanabhaiah, and this committee released its report in the same year. And then comes the Malamet Committee report of 2003. They have submitted the report in March 2003 and has very articulately laid down the foundation of the restructured and reoriented police system. The committee in its report observed that the success of whole process of criminal justice administration depended completely on the proper functioning of the police organization, especially in the investigation stage. And apart from the investigation of offences, the police also have duty of maintaining law and order. And then we have this Solis Sorabji committee. It was in 2005. The government put together a group to draft a new Police Act of India, and it was headed by Solis Sorabji, who was a former Attorney General, and the committee submitted a Model Police Act to the Union Government of 2006. And finally, the second ARC report. The ARC recommendations of separation of crime investigation from other police functions and establishment of state police boards, welfare and grievance redressal mechanism for police personnel, police complaints authority and police training, and also recommended that the government should declare certain crimes as federal and entrust such investigations to central authority. And regarding some Supreme Court intervention, and in 1996, Prakash Singh, a former chief of Assam Police and Uttar Pradesh Police and subsequently a Director General of the BSF, initiated a public interest litigation in Supreme Court of India, asking the court to investigate measures to reform the police forces across India, that is to ensure proper rule of law and improve security in India. The Supreme Court studied various reports on police reforms and directed that the government has to set up a committee to review the commission's recommendation, and thus Ribeiro Committee was formed. Finally, in 2006, since there were no movements in directions of the reforms, the Supreme Court made the police reforms a mandatory reform. Note down the point. Since 2006, the Supreme Court made the police reforms a mandatory one, that is to be taken up by the central as well as the state governments. The states and the union territories were directed to comply with the 7 binding directives that would kickstart to reform. The 7 directives were to constitute a state security commission to insulate the police from external pressures and to ensure that the state government does not exercise unwarranted influence or pressure on the police, lay down broad policy guidelines and evaluate the performance of the state police. And the second is to ensure that the DGP is appointed through the merit-based transparent process and secure a minimum tenure of 2 years. The third is to ensure that the police officers on operational duties, including the SP in charge of a district and the station house officer in charge of the police station, are also provided a minimum tenure of 2 years. Fourth is that to separate investigation and the law and order functions of the police. So that's a key point. The fifth one is to set up Police Establishment Board to give autonomy to police officers in personal matters to decide on transfers, postings, promotions and other service related matters of the police officers. And the sixth one is to set up a police compliance authority at state level to ensure the greater accountability of the policeman, to inquire into public complaints against police officers, often above the rank of DSP of police in case of serious misconduct, including custodial death, grievous hurt, on rape in police custody, and at a district level to inquire into public complaints against the police personnel below the rank of Deputy Superintendent of Police in case of serious misconduct. And finally, to set up a National Security Commission at the union level to prepare a panel for selection and placement of chiefs of the central police organizations with a minimum tenure of 2 years. And the recent update is, on July 3, 2018, the Supreme Court has passed another order laying down further guidelines for the appointment of DGP by the states, stressing that there is no concept of acting DGP. So as a follow-up to this, we'll see. After this, 14 states have passed legislation, but these were mainly to circumvent the directives, but not to implement them. Till today, the government has not shown its commitment to follow the directives of the court in true letter and spirit. And the Justice Thomas Committee which was appointed by the Supreme Court to monitor the implementations of directions in various states, and its report expressed dismay over the total indifference to the issue of reforms in the functioning of the police being exhibited by the states. And Justice Verma Committee, which was constituted in the wake of brutal gang rape in Delhi on December 16, 2012, urged all states to fully comply with all the 6 Supreme Court directives in order to tackle the systematic problems in policing which exist today. Still, the states remain adamant. The colonial structure suits the political class because it enables them to use, misuse and abuse the police. The bureaucracy has become addicted to hegemonistic control over the police and is not prepared to let the control be diluted in any manner. The politician-bureaucratic combination is the most powerful in India. It is capable of frustrating any plan or scheme, and so efforts to reform the police are making very slow progress. So what are the challenges then? That is, the challenges like police training and quantity of force along with the quality, the long working hours as well as the isolation of the police force from the public should be looked into. And the crime, terrorism and external threats take a huge toll on economic growth, and it costs almost about 9% of India's GDP. The police face shortage of manpower, poor infrastructure and has no functional autonomy. Also, the internal security problems like the Maoist insurgency, Kashmir situation, Northeast separatist movement, terrorist threats, etc. And lack of coordination within the police departments, it's a major issue. Most police forces use obsolete equipments. Most states have huge number of unfilled vacancies. Politicization of police has left officers with little discretion to take their decisions in emergency situations. Corruption in the police department is very high. And absence of sensitization to women's rights, children's rights, and above all, human rights in the force. And at many times, police system is described as inept and a political tool. So the conclusion is, even where the mandated institutions like State Security Commission, Police Establishment Board and Complaints Authority have been set up, their composition have been subverted and their charter diluted or powers are curtailed. There is arbitrariness in the appointment of DGP, and police officers on operational assignments are shunted out for various administrative reasons before the completion of 2 years. And there is tardiness in the separation of investigative and law and order functions of the police. Police force need to be freed from the hold of the executive and must be given functional autonomy to enforce the rule of law. It is high time the vacancies in police force is filled, and the police forces need to be upgraded from housing to transport to communications and forensics. The police need to have operational freedom to carry out their responsibilities professionally and satisfactory working conditions while being held accountable for poor performance or misuse of power. The police reforms, it needs to be emphasized and are not to cover the police with glory. They are to give better security and protection to the people of the country, uphold rule of law and improve governance. What we have today is ruler's police. What we have today is ruler's police. What we need to and must have is people's police. So that's it. Wish you all good luck. Thank you.